Welcome to the Movies of the Damn podcast. My name is Kyle Grant, and I'm sitting here as always with my friend and published horror author, John Hunt. If you enjoy what you hear here today, please subscribe to our YouTube channel, check out our Facebook page, and follow us on both Instagram and Twitter at Damn Movies. Email us any questions, comments, and suggestions to moviesofthedamned@gmail.com. For further details on John's published works, please visit his blog, johnhuntfiction.wordpress.com. Today, we'll be discussing Ruben Fleischer's 2019 zombie comedy, Zombieland Double Tap. The film is set 10 years after the first installment and again follows Tallahassee, Columbus, Wichita, and Little Rock, surviving in the zombie apocalypse, while this time living in the White House. Things get a little bit more complicated, though, as Little Rock leaves the group and Madison enters the fray, complicating Columbus and Wichita's relationship. Eventually, though, the group reunites with Little Rock, but not before some epic zombie battles. John, opening thoughts on the movie?
Yeah, so let's start off with full disclosure here. This is our second time recording this. For whatever reason, I uploaded the wrong file on the weekend, and that was because when you record a lot of these podcasts, it kind of like takes up a lot of space on the hard drive. So I started deleting files, and I named the file Double Tap, but it wasn't Double Tap on the file. So yeah, so now we're talking about it again, and
you know what, it is what it is.
Yeah,
these type
sure.
of things happen. And if you look at it, we've been pretty good so far of making sure we have that episode up and running every Sunday, and this is our first kind of major stumble, but it's not even the end of the world. We're going to record this right now and get it online, and we'll be better going forward, but we might stumble again. Not the end of the world.
Absolutely, and I don't mean it in that way. I just wanted to be own up to my mistakes, and it was my error, and it's not a problem. Like, this is something that we do for fun, and we apologize if I apologize if someone was looking forward to an episode and we didn't deliver. That's on me. But once again, it's the first one that we missed, and I don't see any point in the future I'm going to miss it going forward, because I'm certainly not going to do the same mistake twice.
I do have to be honest with you and everyone else, though. I did get one message Sunday night where the person was asking where the episode was, and when I let them know there was a bit of an error, they said, "Okay, I'm going to go jump off a bridge now." So I'm sure they were just joking, but just to let you know on that one.
No, for sure. But yeah, let's go back to this movie.
Yeah, the Double Tap. What are your opening thoughts?
I liked this movie. We talked about sequels before, right? So it's just like, okay, what are sequels always going to deliver? They're going to deliver more of the same, right? But just more of it, right? So you're going to have more gore, you're going to have more zombies, you're going to have unique zombie kills, and they're going to have to introduce new characters, maybe a background story progression or new conflict with the old characters, whatever. It's just going to be more of the same. And because you like the first one, you should go back and see the second one, which is what we did. And I was not disappointed in this film at all.
Again, with me, like, this is a tough one for me, and I'm doing it to myself as I always do, John. We've had this conversation so many times about my expectations, but I just loved the first one so much, such a huge fan, so excited that the second one was coming up. And then it just didn't live up to my expectations. But I think, again, that's more my issue than it is an issue with the film itself.
Yeah, and we all do that though, right? We all go see a movie, and if we're really into the trailer, we expect so much from it just from the trailer. But usually the trailers, either they go two ways with that. They show just enough to get you excited, or they show the best parts of the movie, because there's not a lot of substance to the movie, so they show you the best parts in the trailer. So sometimes you go there and you get disappointed, but it's only because of your own expectations, right? That you've raised them to a certain level, and no matter what happened, the movie wouldn't be able to meet those expectations.
But it and I hear you, but the start of it did. That opening scene when we see that zombie's tongue get stuck on the frozen statue, how
Yeah,
amazing was that?
the Homer
Like,
zombie, and then they introduced like the new zombies, right? Um,
yeah,
what
yeah.
the Hawking zombie, like the Stephen Hawking zombie, the ninja zombie. Like they just threw all these new obstacles in the way, right?
And it hits the ground running, and I love that twist that they decided to go start living in the White House. Like that was just awesome. So like it had me laughing right away. And then the book that who gets Columbus gets, right?
Yeah,
And she had like ruined it. She had like written in it or something like that. And
yeah,
just
yeah,
like
yeah.
I really like Jesse Eisenberg as an actor, and I know he plays a similar character over and over again, but he just does it so well, and I just love the contrast between him and Wichita in this movie. Like I just really enjoy the back and forth between them.
Oh yeah, for sure. Like they're both very passive aggressive, but in different ways, right? So like he's sarcastic in a subtle way, and she's sarcastic in a in your face way, but it's still a lot of fun to watch. Just the way that they go at each other, and not in a mean way, just more like they're making fun of each other. But later on, it gets a little mean when the new love interest pops in. But I enjoyed this movie. Like I thought there's a lot of stuff going on for it that was right. Like what I got, your expectations were too high. My expectations were met in this one because I knew there was only so much they could do. Like what else could they have
Yeah.
added to this movie that would have made it better for you?
And I hear what you're saying, and I think maybe looking back and again, hindsight's always 2020, and through reflection, I'm kind of thinking, why did I like the first one so much? And
Mm-hmm.
I think a reason why I liked the first one so much is because I had no idea what to expect going into it. I didn't entirely even know that it was kind of like a zombie comedy, dark comedy type of thing, and it just kind of floored me with what I saw in the first one,
Mm-hmm.
where there wasn't that element of surprise with this second one. But how could there be?
No, there can't be, right? So they have to do more of the same. They have
Yeah,
no really no other way of presenting this, right? You can't change the characters, right? The characters that you loved from the first one, great cast, still a great cast that they brought back together for this one. You can't do anything about that. They are who they are. They were designed in the first one. You can't really show much of a progressional change from that because then the audience can't get behind that because they're like, hey, wait, he wouldn't do that or she wouldn't do that. There's just you can't do that in a sequel. So I knew they were very limited, and I knew there's only so much they could do. Um, but once again, like expectations mean all, right? So, well, not mean all, but they can impact the film a lot, and you felt that yourself.
yeah, no, you're absolutely right. But before we get into this too far, and we talk about, because you kind of already brought it up a little bit, the new addition to this movie, to let the cat out of the bag for anyone who hasn't seen it, amazing character named Madison,
Yep.
absolutely stole the movie for me. But before we get to her entry, I want to first talk about an issue with the film, and it came up pretty early, and that was with Wichita and Little Rock leaving right
Mm-hmm.
away.
Yep.
I don't see that happening. Because if you look at this, like they left a few times in the first one, and each time Jesse Eisenberg and Woody Harrelson they proved themselves, and they went and rescued them, and they brought them back together, and then they all lived together for 10 years. This
Yeah.
group spent 10 years together, and then the girls just get up and leave because Eisenberg wants to get married now.
Yes.
No way.
And you know what? I kind of agree with you. I agree with you in the sense that 10 years is a damn long time, right? It's a really long time. So to
Like they basically are married at that point.
yeah, well, yeah, that's what I mean. So to throw it all away just because he wants to symbolically seal the relationship, I suppose, even though it's been sealed for 10 years. Um, I don't think I don't think it was I don't think it was practical, or I don't think it was a realistic expectation from or to a realistic expectation from the audience for the characters in the film. I don't think she would do that. I agree with you that she wouldn't do that. Although at the same time, I wasn't put off by it because, like you said, in the first one, they established that anytime something where she felt that she was getting tied down and she couldn't move, she felt her safety and her sister's safety was in jeopardy, and she felt compelled to move. So I wasn't completely against it, although I would say I agree with you that it would be unrealistic in this instance.
What I would have preferred is if maybe in the opening montage they had shown like over the past 10 years, just like a brief 2 minute thing of the girls repeatedly like leaving and coming back, something like that.
Yeah, but then you couldn't have done that over 2 minutes because it would have been there. You always have to have the reason why, right? So especially after the ending of the first
Yeah,
one,
yeah.
after the ending of the first one where they
Yeah,
risk
because
life
of,
and limb, right, to save the
yeah, no,
girls.
you're absolutely right.
So it would have to be more involved than one of those 80s sequencing scenes, right?
Yeah, I guess I'm just kind of thinking out loud.
Yeah, for
Um,
sure.
I just can't say it any better than I did. That I just like I can't see them leaving. But then having said that, I am ecstatic that they did leave because the new character Madison floored me. This actress knocked this out of the park. She played this ditzy blonde girl so perfectly. This girl who had been living in a freezer for
Hmm.
10 years. And it was just so amazing to just jump ahead for a little bit to when Emma Stone came back, and you just saw a further contrast between Madison's character and Emma Stone's character,
Yeah,
and
for
then the
sure.
whole kind of like little love triangle that was going on between the two of them and Jesse Eisenberg. It just made for cinema, like just for movie gold.
I would agree with that. I thought the Madison was a great character addition. She was hilarious. She was ditzy, but she also had a really good heart on her. She was very nice, and she was just, and you could see it. Like Emma didn't like her. She didn't like her, but she couldn't dislike her because she was a nice person and a kind person. You know what I mean? Like, so she was more angry at Jesse for choosing to be with a girl like that.
Yeah, but then having said that, if this was
Yeah,
real life, it would have been the last girl in the world that Emma Stone would have wanted to hang out with.
yeah, for sure, right? So, but um, you're talking a zombie apocalypse in real life?
No, no, no. So I'm like, if it wasn't the zombie apocalypse,
Yeah,
if
yeah.
this was the regular world, like Madison and Emma Stone would not be friends.
Oh, absolutely. It's like one of those things where in real life, you can't choose your neighbors, right? So in
Yeah, yeah.
this one you can't really choose who you're going to survive beside. So,
No.
um, yeah.
But having said all that, do you
Yeah,
see Jesse Eisenberg sleeping with Madison right away? Because again, remember, he has like just gotten out of a 10-year relationship, and I think it was still within the first month after Emma Stone had left.
yeah. So they made a point of that. It was a month after when they were walking through the mall, and he ran into Madison, or he talked to Madison because Woody was like, it's been a month already. Get over it. So they made a point of saying it was a whole month since she left, and so here's my thing on it. Here's my take on it. I I don't have a problem with it. He was with for her 10 years, and then he asked her to marry him, and what'd she do? She leaves,
Took off.
and
Yeah.
she leaves a terrible note behind. And then so maybe for the first week he was hoping she'd come back. She doesn't come
Hmm.
back, and then 2 weeks she doesn't come back. 3 weeks she doesn't come back. She doesn't. She keeps not coming back. And then so then the realization, the reality of this relationship they had with her, it's gone. And then now there's a young girl that he meets who thinks he's smart, who thinks his ideas are great, who wants to hear about all his rules, who doesn't make fun of him,
Yeah,
and
yeah, yeah.
she's good looking. Like, I don't know, man. I really don't have an issue with that. I think that
And
was
she was really aggressive in pursuing him.
for sure, absolutely right. So, and and I don't have one problem with that at all. I see that happening for sure, actually.
No, no, fair enough. And when you explain like that, I get it. It just like I guess I just think back to that first film with like how much like Emma Stone almost mistreated him and threw him away and kept taking off, and he was just like a puppy dog, just loved her and kept going after her and kept following her, and she was kind of his first love ever. Because if you remember back to the first film, he was kind of this like loner loser character who had never had a girlfriend before, and this was his first and only love. And I just built all that up into my mind, and then I'm like, ah, does he really sleep with this other girl right away?
Yeah, and you know what? You also got to look at it like, so he was with Emma Stone like from the first one, but he didn't have any other options then. All the other options were
Yeah, that's
dead,
true.
right? So
Yeah.
and now Emma's gone, and now once again he has no options. And then the one option that runs across him is actually not running away from him. It's actually not making fun of him. Is actually into him and kind of wants to spend time with him. So I don't know, man.
and and she's hilarious, John.
Oh, she's
Like I
great. She's
absolutely
great.
love
Yeah.
that first scene where they kind of had the big battle or whatever. Emma Stone is back in the picture, and they're like the zombies start charging them. They're at like a bus or a camper or something like that. And I think Madison turns towards everyone. It's like, oh, guys, don't worry. They're more afraid of us than we are of them.
Yeah.
Like just like stuff like that,
Oh
like made
yeah.
me laugh so hard. Um,
Yeah.
and then what did you think of it? The big twist with her, and the twist that I want to bring up is where we thought she was infected, and it ended up just being a nut allergy. So what did you? First of all, I thought Jesse Eisenberg had killed her. Did you see that coming? And number two, what did you think of that overall play that it was actually just a nut allergy and she wasn't in fact turning?
Okay, so I thought that she was in fact turning and that she was infected, but I knew for certain that Jesse didn't shoot her.
And like how? How did you know that?
So this is a zombie movie, and
Yeah,
up until that point, even the first movie and in this one, they never held back on any gory scenes. They showed every blow up. They even made a point of showing the worst zombie kills going, right? Or the best
you're
zombie kills going,
right.
right? So and then the one time when Jesse's gonna shoot her, they don't show it. They don't show it at all. They just like a bang in the woods, and then he comes back, and you don't see her body. You don't see anything. So I knew he didn't shoot her. I didn't know about the nut allergy. I thought she would pop up like because they were talking about the new zombies, right? The faster zombies, the Terminator zombies,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
The T800s or T900s or whatever they were. They're talking about those. So I thought she was going to be one of those mutants and would be following after them, and she'd show up later on in the film. But I knew he didn't shoot her. But I had no idea it was a nut allergy.
That makes so much sense, and I didn't pick up on that, but you're absolutely right. They showed every kill, and I guess they get suckers like me out there that's like, oh yeah, I guess he killed her. I can't believe I didn't pick up on that. You're so right.
Well, it's just like I've just only because like when that happened and they didn't show it, I was immediately suspicious. That was all, right?
Yeah,
Like
yeah,
why would
yeah.
they show it? But
No, and that makes perfect sense, buddy. Just to pivot for a second, and I know you hate when I compare like movies, but this movie did have a lot of similarities to the first one and kind of the setup in that in the middle of this movie there was a almost like a celebrity cameo type of thing. So in the first one, it was kind of Bill Murray,
yeah,
obviously, who stole the movie in that first one, and I love. And then in this one, there was I don't even know what you want to call them, the like alternate versions of like uh Columbus and Tallahassee,
yeah.
like
So
kind of like
like they're
their doppelgangers or
doppelgangers.
whatever.
Exactly, doppelgangers is correct. I would say. Yeah. So
And it was played
I
by Luke Wilson, and I can't remember the other actor's name. He's the star of Silicon Valley, but I just thought like they picked the two perfect actors to play these doppelgangers.
Oh, for sure. Like I'm a big fan of Luke Wilson. Like I've liked him since old school. I don't really watch TV, as you know, so I don't know the Silicon Valley show. So I didn't know the other guy.
Great, great show, by the way. Yeah.
Yeah, so I didn't really know the other guy, but I thought he did a great job of being a second Jesse. I thought that whole sequence was actually really funny, especially when they're both competing for Rosario Dawson's affection, right? And I really
Yeah.
like her too. I liked her since Quentin Tarantino's Death Proof movie. She's awesome. I really enjoy watching her. She
Hmm.
was fun to watch. So I no, I really liked that part. I thought it was great. I thought it was an excellent addition. It's just like and I like the way the two Jessies got along really well. Like I thought like because they thought the same and everything like that, and then the two Woodies didn't really like each other because they're so aggressive and they need to be the alpha male in the room. Like I thought it was a great little scene for sure.
And I liked it too when they don't ask for help, and then doppelgangers go and fight the zombies, and they both clearly get bit, but then they're trying to cover it up. I thought that that was a really because I wasn't sure how they were going to wrap it up
Yeah,
because it's
yeah,
like well we can't continue the rest of the movie with like both sets going on, right? But then
yeah,
when the
yeah.
zombie attack happened, and I thought it was a clever way to wrap it up with everything like that, and it wasn't bad. But I guess again I got in my own head, and I'm like, oh, this isn't nearly as great as the Bill Murray cameo was in the first one. But you're right, it still was fun.
Oh, I had a great time with this film. Like obviously the first one's gonna have more impact because, like you said, there is a newness factor to it, right? You haven't seen a zombie movie like this before in Zombieland, like the first one. So it was like everything was new. The cast was great. They were funny. Everything went well. The chemistry between them was really good, and so the second one, the shine is off the penny. So you just I expected more of the first one. So I had a great time with this film just because of that. I think they
Yeah.
really delivered on that.
And the writing was good, John. I've already brought up like one of Madison's great lines when she talked about, oh, they're more afraid of us when they are of them, or
Yeah,
when we learn as the audience that she isn't in fact dead, and what is she driving an ice cream truck or something,
yeah,
and
yeah,
she sees him and she's not even upset, and she's something like, we should hang out sometime,
yeah. I know. Hey
like it
guys.
just, yeah, oh, it had me laugh so hard. But then this next line that I wrote down wasn't from her, is when they're searching for Little Rock, obviously, and they come to the hippie commune,
Hmm.
and I think they say two rules: no guns and no group sex.
Yeah.
Like it's just like stuff like that. Like there was a lot of like actual like laugh out loud moments, like not
Oh,
just chuckles or
absolutely.
like, because there's just like the stuff caught me off guard so much, right? And so it's like I guess the more we talk about this, the more I guess my overall impression of the movie is maybe getting a little bit better, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, for sure. Like, you know, it's just like I said, when your expectations aren't met upon watching a film, it's hard to take that first impression away, right? First impressions are very important, so it's hard to like step back and look at that whole film again with a new set of eyes because you've already been exposed to it, and it's color your disappointment is coloring that lens. So it's
Yeah.
hard to be objective about it afterwards. But I like I said, like you're bang on. There's a lot of good really lines in this. So I forget what this is in context to. I think it was like when they're talking about Madison. It was like if you love something, you shoot it in the face. Just stuff like that, right? Like this
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
all throughout this.
Like
Yeah,
so morbid. Like that line on its own, like without context, is so morbid. But like in this movie, it makes you chuckle.
yeah. And then the hippie that she ran off with. Like I thought that guy was hilarious. Like there were so
Oh, when
many good.
he's pretending that he wrote the Bob Dylan songs.
Yeah, right. Like these guys. Like I thought he did a great job. I thought like you know what I mean. I thought I had a great
Or
time.
she's talking about like coming up with the idea for Uber, and everyone's like, yeah, that's
Yeah, that
no
would never
way, like
work. That would never work. That's a
never
terrible
work. And she's
idea.
like, guys, the taxi industry did it to themselves. Like it's right. There's just so many cool things they could do. But after talking about all this good stuff, I gotta bring up another issue because that's who I am. They make it to the hippie commune. They find Little Rock. They all become reunited, and Woody Harrelson decides, no, this isn't for him because he hates hippies,
Hmm.
and decides to drive off. And as
Yep.
he's driving away from the commune, he comes across the group of zombies, the Terminator zombies, like you called them, and they're in like a full sprint towards the commune. And you
Yep.
can see the commune in the camera angle, but yet Woody Harrelson has time to turn around, get back there, explain to everyone. They do like training exercises, and then the horde of zombies gets there. Like there, that was an issue.
Yeah, for sure. And if this was a serious zombie movie, I'd be picking that apart. Although I have to admit, I didn't really pick up on that at all. I wasn't really paying attention to that part of it at all, or I didn't notice the timeline. But you're completely right. The timeline is way off. But once again, this is a comedy horror, so you tend to forget. Well, I tend to forgive a lot of stuff that would normally make me go, no, 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 this is crap, right? Where if it was a serious zombie movie like Dawn of the Dead or something like that, right? I would have been like the first one with my finger wagging, going, no, this couldn't have happened, like that type of thing. But
Yeah.
it didn't bother me. Didn't bother me at all.
Or how about when they get rescued near the end, where she kind of does like the full flip in the monster truck?
Yeah, yeah,
Like that was a bit of an eye-rolling moment, but you're right. It's a zombie comedy, it's a horror comedy, so we can forgive more stuff. Except the one thing when Little Rock pulls out the gun at the end,
yep.
and she could have used it earlier because remember, just before they got saved by the monster truck, like they thought they were about to die. They're all hugging and stuff like that. But she doesn't pull out the gun. She waits till the very end.
Mm-hmm. Um, you didn't like that part, I guess.
No, I just like, I guess like she could have forgot she had it, but like
Well, that's what
she
she did.
it
She did say that, right? Remember Woody asked her, "Is like you had that the whole time?" And she's like, "Yeah, I forgot I had it." Like she actually they addressed that. They addressed that
yeah, I
issue, right?
guess.
Maybe not in the best way that satisfied you, but
Mhm.
once again for me, I was like, well, at least they realized it was a problem and they addressed it, right? Just like
Yeah, at
before,
least
like
they tried to talk about it.
yeah. So like when they were in that White House for 10 years and the place still had power running, I was like, come on, like the power would be out by now. That this shit needs to be maintained. There needs to be something going on. But then they said, oh, the dam's still running, so it's still generating power. So I'm like, okay, at least they addressed part of it. Like you still would have to maintain um, all the equipment that generates actually captures the power and generates it and sends it out. You still have to
Oh,
maintain
you'd
that.
have to. There's no way it's running for 10 years without maintenance. Like something breaks.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. And but they at least they partially addressed it. Some of these questions that you would have, like I had that immediately. I wrote it down. The power wouldn't be
Mhm.
on, right? So, but then they kind of talk about it. So, maybe not to the satisfaction, 100% satisfaction. But once again, it's not a serious film here. This is a comedy, and you overlook a lot of things in a comedy. Well, I tend to do anyways.
No, and that makes sense. And we want you guys to check it out too. If you haven't seen this yet, it's on Amazon Prime, and the vast majority of the world has Amazon Prime. So go on there and check it out. But one thing I want to get into, John, but before we wrap up here, is the Rotten Tomatoes scores. I always like to tell you about
Mm-hmm.
the Rotten Tomatoes score, the critic score for this film. Thumbs up at 68.
Yep.
Now that this was a fair bit lower though than the original, which I agree with. The original was at a 90. So
Mm-hmm.
the original's at a 90. This one's at a 68 with critics. Both are still thumbs up, though. Both are still certified fresh. But it's the audience score that really throws me off. So the audience score for this one, for Double Tap, was 88.
Mm-hmm.
And for the original, it was 86.
Hmm.
Now, it is so confusing to me how, theoretically here, two people liked the sequel but didn't like the first one.
Yeah. Um.
Like that's like beyond me. I would love to sit down and have a good discussion with those two people.
Well, maybe it's the opposite of you, right? So maybe in the first film, their expectations were really high, and they weren't met, but they thought it was okay, and then they saw the sequel and they're like, okay, yeah, this is really good now. Who knows?
I, I guess, but yeah, that just kind of threw me off. For me though, I'm with the critics on this second one here. I'm in the 60s. Where are you, buddy? Are you somewhere in between the critics and the audience, or
I'm a
whereabouts do you land?
I'm a 75. I
Okay,
think
so yeah, you're kind of in between.
yeah, I'm exactly like I thought. This is what I expected, and then they delivered it, and but because it doesn't have the newness or the I guess the newness or the originality of the original, which it can't, based upon the definition of original. Um, it loses some of the score that I had for Zombieland, the first one, right? But other than that,
Yeah, yeah.
I thought it delivered. I would tell anyone who liked the first one to see this film. Absolutely.
Oh, for sure you have to, right?
Yeah.
And then money wise, budget came in somewhere between 42 and 48 million.
Mm-hmm.
Now in the box office, it brought in over 122 million. But one tidbit that I actually found is that Sony spent about 60 million dollars on prints and advertising for the film.
Holy cow.
So when you take that into account, it still did make a profit, but it wasn't gigantic.
No, no,
Now,
no.
having said that, filmmaker Ruben Fleischer did go on record stating that he would love to do a Madison standalone movie.
Oh man, I'd go see it. I'd definitely go see it.
Yeah, and when I saw that, I kind of smiled. I'm like, that would be interesting because like she was great here because of how she played into the scenario of the cast of characters that they had in
Mm-hmm.
this Zombieland universe, especially as I've already said once, the kind of contrast that she showed with Emma Stone's character.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, to me, whether or not a Madison standalone would work would all depend on the type of characters they develop to be around her in the movie.
Oh, for sure. Like I think you could do a lot with her actually, just based upon like her. She seems to be very naive, but
Yeah,
she still survived for 10 years. So you could do a lot with that, right? So how she kind of just breezes through situations that other people are getting killed in, because her naivety is allowing her to do that. Like I think you could do a lot with that. Would be pretty funny actually.
yeah, no. So I was kind of excited when I saw that, but then when I saw the returns on the investment here, I'm like, oh, Sony might not be into another one, but
Yeah,
I hope they try that kind of standalone one, or at the very least, do the third, the Zombieland Triple Tap,
that's
10
right.
years from now. Imagine that, if they waited another 10 years.
No man, Woody would be old then, like really old.
Yeah, but it would be awesome.
It would be. You're right.
Well, buddy, anything else to add on this one?
No.
All right, awesome. Well, folks, please subscribe to our YouTube channel. Check out our Facebook page and follow us on both Twitter and Instagram at Damn Movies. We want to hear what you thought of today's podcast and any suggestions you have, especially in terms of what movies you'd like us to discuss next. Send us an email to moviesofthedamned@gmail.com. Please also check out John's full-length novels. His first two novels, Dollhouse and The Tracker, are Amazon bestsellers. You can also order his novella Balance, his book of short stories, Four Shots of Horror, and his newest novel, Off the Grid, all right now available on Amazon. For further details on John's other published works, please visit his blog, johnhuntfiction.wordpress.com. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you next time.
That's right, everyone. Stay safe, stay at home, listen to a podcast, maybe read a scary book. I don't know. Anyways, be kind to everyone.